It was yet another loss for the Brooklyn Nets last night. In fact, it has been a 2026 that has been filled with losses for the Brooklyn Nets. But one player's huge impact might just have him in future trade rumors as the trade season gets into full swing. We'll break that down and so much more right here on the show, as well as what that guy's future has in store for Brooklyn and what his value could look like. Hello, everyone, and welcome back inside the Brooklyn Boys show. I am your host, Josh Bolivar. So glad to be back with you. It's been about a week since our last show. So what does that mean? The YouTube algorithm's not so friendly to us, but you can get it back on our side, hitting like, hitting subscribe. The best and free way to do that. Appreciate all your support. Tuesday, January 20th, the day after MLK Day. The Nets have played a ton. They have been busy since we last spoke. If you haven't done so yet, go check out the short form video from Connor yesterday about the rookies and Yegor Dioman so far this season. Great content out across all platforms. And of course, the social medias is where you can get our short form content, X and Instagram, or your one stop shop there. Overall, another loss for the Brooklyn Nets, but this is one of those that you're not too disappointed about because, look, it was a rocky game all around for the Nets. In midway through the second quarter, they found themselves down 20 points to a very, very good Phoenix Suns team that can turn up the intensity from deep, as we saw them do last night. Found themselves down 20, and then all of a sudden go on a major run to end the first half and cut the lead down to 4 off of a Terrence Mann buzzer-beating 3. So you start to think this team is turning a corner because they race a massive, massive first half deficit to pull within 2 possessions at the halftime break, and then they kind of come out limping to begin the second half. Again, a lot of this can be attributed to the Suns, They were ridiculous last night. 20 of 39 from three-point range, or 51% on the day. And there were certain guys who just could not miss. Dylan Brooks could not miss. Grayson Allen, Devin Booker, Gillespie, their young guard, showed out last night. And it was pretty evident to me that Brooklyn, their plan of attack was to double team, try and get the ball out of the good three-point shooter's hands, but that just wasn't working. Phoenix was swinging it around and finding 3 or 4 guys open on almost every possession who were all knocking down 3. So I thought the plan of attack for Jordi Fernandez was there. He wanted to double team the ball and clearly keep it moving to try and limit open opportunities for high-quality three-point shooters. That just didn't work against the Suns. So to me, by the time the second half started and you saw the way the first half played out, I think you have to change your defensive system there from going to attacking and blitzing at the basketball to maybe relaxing back into a 2-3 zone of sorts. The Nets just looked out of sorts defensively well into the second half. They knew that the Suns were knocking down everything and still sending double teams and opening up good shooters. If you excuse me today, I am a little sick, so if you see me grab for water or a tissue, that is probably why, but have to keep it pushing. The troopers are going to push through right here on the show. Suns were ridiculous. They could not miss. They dropped the Nets down to 2-10 in their last 12. So the shooting was there for Phoenix, but that's not to say that there weren't positives to take away from Brooklyn's part. I think there absolutely were. And I think a guy who we can start with is Nolan Traore. He is somebody who has been sort of limping along thus far through the season. He started off on Long Island to begin the season, and it took him a couple months to get up to the pro level. But the big thing for me is he has been entrusted with a much, much bigger role at the Brooklyn level of things. Whereas on Long Island, he was contributing solid minutes. He wasn't anything spectacular. He wasn't like what Ben Saraf is doing, throwing up 40 on Long Island. He was just another role player down there. But then he comes up to Brooklyn. I mean, he was a starter on Long Island, but he comes up to Brooklyn and he is really playing some solid role player minutes as Nolan Traore. And I like the way that this coaching staff trusts him thus far into his NBA career, because remember, he did spend a chunk of 2025 in the G League. I like how this coaching staff trusts him, and I like how they're able to get this skill out of him. There is obviously a ton of room for improvement with Nolan Traore. I don't think any Net fan who has watched this team is going to debate that with you. But just so far, as we outlook on this year so far, this season, halfway through, the Nets, like a lot of guys on this roster, the Nets have been able to squeeze the most out of the guys they have and maximize their best abilities night in, night out. That was on full display to me last night for Nolan Traore. He had an amazing start using his speed to get downhill. 3 times in that first half, he got downhill and he scored in the paint. It was in the transition. He was drawing contact and getting to the free throw line. Perfect from the charity stripe. Oh, by the way, and just the way he ran the break gave me the utmost confidence in what this coaching staff can turn him into, because that is a very, very important part of Nolan Traore's game. It's going to be getting out into the open floor. It's going to have to be finishing through contact. It's going to have to be, weaving in between defenders in transition. He's a very, very fast guy. So if you want to milk out the positives of his skill sets, the best way to do that is to get him open floor looks, and that's what the Nets were able to do last night. It led to a very early 7 points for Nolan Traore. Look, the efficiencies then dip later on into the second half, but it doesn't concern me as much because, again, with these rookies and with the entire season as an overarching theme, you can really rely on getting the positives out of things, and you don't need to see consistent, absolutely perfect and polished play at this point in the Nets rebuild. You still have this year to iron all those wrinkles out. So I still really like what Nolan Traore was able to do. Again, even through the efficiency dips. Another one of his rookies that got out there and played well yesterday was Drake Powell, excuse me. He set things up going on fire to start with 2 straight threes. And he's been entrusted with a starting role over these past 2 weeks. Yegor Gioman out, who we'll talk about later, with plantar fascia issues as he continues to rehab that on injury management. However, for this Nets team, it really, really comes down to, in Drake Powell specifically, if he's going to get the starting role, Powell, he has to be able to play like that. And the way he started off this game was amazing. He hits 2 threes. The plus minus isn't going to tell you that he played well. I believe he was a minus 18, the worst net out there yesterday. But 4 of 7 from 3, or rather 4 of 7 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3 with 3 assists. I have zero problems with that type of performance out of Drake Powell. 25 minutes, just a very, very solid game for him. Again, he came out of the gates hot, wasn't taking too many shot opportunities, unlike a guy we'll talk about in a couple of moments here. Wasn't taking too many shot opportunities, and really when he was making the most out of it. So Drake Powell, it seems like Nets World has sort of certified and cemented him into this place as the future of the backcourt alongside Yegor Gioman. Look, I'm not ready to go there quite yet, and I don't think I will, even through the rest of this season, pending anything major from Powell. But the steps are certainly headed in the right direction. You can see him scoring from the perimeter, which was a big, big underline. His defense has shown flashes, throughout the year. You can see the vision of the Nets seeing this guy as a second team All-NBA defense guy a couple years down the road. Obviously not immediately off his entrance into the league. But Powell's somebody that in the near future could be a very, very solid role player for this Brooklyn Nets team. And not only right now when they don't have another good guard option, and there's a lot of chatter that, oh, well, Drake Powell's only here. He's gotten the injury opportunities. The door's open. Only right now is the opportunity for Powell to be able to play this well and get this opportunity to start at the guard spot at the NBA level. I think that's simply not true. You have to give the guy his chance. He's a rookie. He's the 19th pick, or rather the 22nd pick in this past year's draft. You have to give the guy his chance And even if the Nets are a contending team, and even if they go out and get a big guard in free agency, Drake Powell is still someone who's going to contribute to this team night in, night out. So love to see the positive signs from him. Another solid turn in by a net rookie. So Powell and Traore played really well. I mentioned Yegor Gioman out with plantar fascia injury management. He didn't play. The last rookie was Danny Wolf. Look, he was all right. Nailed 2 3-point balls, finished with 8 on the night. 13 minutes, though, I feel like his role has really started to decrease. You remember about a month ago when he burst onto the scene and was dropping 20 plus points. Obviously, at the time we were living in a fantasy that probably wasn't ever going to be sustainable, that probably wasn't going to be the future of his role in the Nets. So you kind of see it come back down to earth majorly over the past, couple of weeks, I would say. He is tied for the least amount of minutes with another disaster in Jalen Wilson. Not saying Danny Wolf's a disaster, but there were two disasters who played 13 and 15 minutes. And Jalen Wilson, another brutal game from him, pretty much as per usual. 0-3 for the field, only scores on free throws. But Danny Wolf, his role is significantly decreased. I continuously find him in sort of different spots on the floor. 4 rebounds, 8 points, 13 minutes, a steal. So not horrible stuff. Only a -6 in a game that the Nets evidently lose by 9 and were down by 20 at one point. So not a terrible turn-in from Danny Wolf, but the question is, when does his role sort of get molded out? Because at this point, so far in the season, we've seen what he can be at his peak potential. Maybe that was just a little bit of rookie luck, riding a hot streak, being called up from the G League. Maybe that was his full potential, and that's what we'll see down the line after more development. We don't know, but Danny Wolf still has yet to have his role carved out, although a pretty solid night considering he was tied for the least amount of minutes with any net who played. MPJ, huge efficiency dip. Major efficiency dip. 20% from deep, 2 of 10, and 10 of 23 from the field. He scores 23. If you're a box score watcher, you grab 6 assists and 4 assists. But man, this was one of MPJ's worst games, and I feel like over the past week or so, he is just making mistakes that earlier in the year he simply does not. I don't really know if there's a way to explain this. I don't know if there is a word for this, but it sort of feels like MPJ still has the exact same ability. He can pull up and hit over 2 defenders, but he's making silly mistakes. He's stepping on the baseline. He's throwing up terrible shots with 15 plus seconds left on the shot clock. He's becoming a little bit more of this selfish player that Nets fans feared he would be earlier into the year, that he proved he wasn't. But again, give it time. This guy is this team's lone all-star. He deserves a little bit of patience from this fan base because he has carried, and I mean carried, the Nets to their wins so far this year. Their 12 wins are basically all thank you to MPJ. The games he has not played in, the Nets are uncompetitive. They haven't won a game where he's been out. So again, give this guy a little bit of grace. Give him a little bit of credit. He has done such a great job that the efficiencies can dip for a calendar week. So be it. I am not concerned about that. But at the game, I was like, MPJ is doing his best to stay in Brooklyn and not get traded here. Because there was a couple times where he was just making silly mistakes that you do not expect an all-star caliber guy like himself to be making. But again, not worried about that. Get questions, comments, thoughts rolling in the building. If you haven't already, the chat is open, free to discuss, to share, to react. Get questions, comments, thoughts over in there, and like and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Best way to support the show. Want to make it interactive with the community. So just like Jonathan, baby, who we'll get to a couple of his questions in a couple short moments. We'll get to all he has to say. But if you want to join in on the conversation, head over to the comments section. Free reign. All right. This is the guy I really wanted to get to today. And this is the guy who I think's draft stock is so contingent on how he plays, and that's Ziaire Williams, a guy that came over from Memphis 2 years ago, signed the extension this offseason to stay in Brooklyn for 2 more years, and to me was a fan favorite last year, a guy that is not going to hold anything back for this coaching staff, for this fan base, will put 110% effort out on the line every single night, whether his jersey is called upon to come off the bench and contribute solid minutes in a non-scoring way. That's exactly what he'll do, whether his role is to be called on into emergency duty into the starting lineup. That's exactly what he will do. Ziaire Williams is the ultimate team player, the ultimate role player. And I think that's going to be very, very valuable as he heads into the deadline because no, it's not just about the numbers he will put up because he will be able to put up some numbers like we saw last night, some very, very impressive ones at that. It's also about the guy he is in the locker room, the guy, what he will do to turn a culture winning. And that's what teams who are buying in to try and compete down the stretch are really, really looking for. Ziaire Williams, a huge day last night. And to me, for his stock, it couldn't have come at a better time. January 20th, we're about 3 weeks away from when trade deadline day is here and trades are getting dealt like this, that, and the other, and contending teams are making that final push to bolster the rosters. Ziaire Williams is my guy if I'm an NBA GM, and I need a small forward to really come in and plug a gaping hole on my roster. Again, all-around team player, a great guy in the locker room, and is willing to fill any role for any team. And that's why I think he is so valuable to a contending team. But let's look at what he did last night coming off the bench. 24 minutes, led all Nets bench players in minutes. He put in 15 points on 4 of 7 from the field, perfect from the charity stripe, rebounds, 2 steals, and to me, he was a very, very positive aspect to this Nets team. You look at the plus minus, he is the one of 2 Nets to finish, or rather one of 3 Nets to finish in the positive, a positive 12. Meanwhile, you have guys like Drake Powell at negative 18 and Noah Clowney at negative 14. He was a real, real difference maker and was able to turn the tide in his time on the court for Brooklyn. That plus minus is something big because when this is a Phoenix Suns team that again shot the lights out, that could not miss, he was able to come in, put in hardcore and rough-nosed defense. I get it. The 5 personal fouls might concern you. You might call him reckless. To me, he was doing his job. He was moving his feet well. I think he was taking away shot opportunities with strategic fouls. I have no problem with the guy picking up 5 personal fouls if it just means his defense is going to be a contributing factor to the Nets all around. Because again, at the end of the day, that is what is most important, how the team plays around you. And Ziaire Williams really, really elevated himself and his teammates last night. Now, what that means moving forward, I'm not exactly sure, but I think there is definitely a market for this guy. Because let's say a team comes in down a man and has an injury that they are really, really trying to fill. Ziaire Williams is a perfect candidate to come in, fill that role, will not be a diva in the locker room trying to advocate for more of his own playing time, is looking for the team to win, not for his own personal success and gain. And, how can I maximize my next contract? Not what he's looking for. And I think that is so, so valuable to a league that is run by guys like Ja Morant, guys like Trae Young, who are all me, and I don't care how my team does. He's going to be big, I think, at this deadline, and there are going to be a lot of teams calling. So I think the Nets will be able to probably get a couple young players back in a Ziaire Williams deal, maybe pick up a couple picks along the way. But there's also a chance that Sean Marks looks at this and sits down his front office and goes, guys, he is just way too valuable down the line to have this Nets coaching, or rather this Nets front office, trade him away for a couple nuts and bolts here, and then we're really, really missing him when this team is trying to make a playoff push and seriously contend. Hopefully, big asterisk on hopefully next year. So that's what I got on Ziaire Williams. Couple more points, and then we'll get into what you guys have to say in the chat. If you haven't done so yet, head over there. Questions, comments, thoughts, reactions. Those all get thrown in there for us to react to. Try to become the #1 Nets page on YouTube. All that happens with your help. Day'Ron Sharpe is questionable tomorrow. He was out last night with some sort of illness, they listed it as. I am not sure. Hope everything's going well with Day'Ron. He could also be a name and a piece to look out for sometime in the future. MPJ again, the efficiency dip. Don't want to get too into that, but let me show you something that I noticed yesterday when I was at the game. And I think this is very, very important for a team's future and a team's success. Look at this. I've been trying to pull it up here on StreamYard. Let's see. Here we go. Look at this. Yegor Gioman last night after the game. In the ultimate team player mentality, in a night where he did not play, he was dressed in street clothes, where there are some other guys, hint, hint, Cam Thomas, on this team who would have just wanted to get in and out as fast as possible, mail it in, and try and leave. Yegor Gioman, being the ultimate team player, does this. The last Brooklyn Net off the court, thanking every staff member, and that includes all the Barclays Center staff member, not even the people on the Nets coaching staff who work with him every day. He's thanking ushers and security members, as well as signing for the last couple of fans who waited for him yesterday. So there he is, signing for a young fan who was waiting for him. There he is, dapping up and saying thank you to the security guards, and something that I found very, very interesting, because let's be real, this is a guy that the Nets are looking to be the future of this franchise. This is a guy that Brooklyn wants leading this team into the future, into a new era of Nets basketball. That tells me just about all I need to know. I don't need a full media access pass to know what Yegor Gioman's role is like inside the locker room, to know where his mentality is at. He, like Ziaire, is also a team player, is also in it for the betterment of this franchise. It shows me a ton about that guy's character and his ability to command a room as one of the best guys, and I think he's quickly going to become a fan favorite in Brooklyn. I personally already have his jersey, his City Connect Biggie jersey, so that's always fun to wear. A guy that I just love having on my team, and I was one of the people who scrutinized the pick at 8, so I am willing to walk back, or not walk back, but criticize what I said early in the offseason that I did not want this guy. He is showing very, very healthy signs of a prominent and dominant young leadership role in the Nets locker room, And that's something I'm very, very looking forward to seeing develop in the future. Continue to hit like and subscribe with 60 of you guys in the building here on Tuesday, January 20th. Like and subbing is the best way, and it's absolutely free to support the development of the chat. Let's get into your questions, comments, thoughts over here. If you want to load anything up or say what's up, feel free. Free range is open in the chat. Let's get into a couple of these, starting with Jonathan. He says, Josh, trade deadline is around the corner and Warriors lost Butler for the season. Yes, prayers up there. The 36-year-old with a torn ACL. You hate to see it. I saw the video. It is gruesome. He knew it immediately goes to the ground. And it's just one of those things in sports that you really hope never happens to anybody. But unfortunately, it's the reality of the situation. Jimmy Butler out for the year. And I heard talks that maybe it's going to be an injury that he's going to have trouble really ever coming back from at age 36. Will the Warriors, though, circle back on MPJ, and has the price gone up? I'll tell you what, I'm not exactly sure if the price has directly gone up, but now the Brooklyn Nets have leverage when you're talking with the Warriors because their number one scorer, not named Steph Curry, is out for the year. Jonathan Kuminga has publicly expressed his disinterest in staying with the team past the deadline. They are screwed. I cannot put this in simpler terms. Without adding bodies at the deadline, the Warriors either sell everything, restart, and end the Steph Curry dynasty in 3 weeks, or they go the opposite way, send all the chips in, trade every pick for the next 6 years to try and rebuild this super team around Steph. The Warriors have no leverage anymore. If they decide they want to go all in, they cannot do anything about the asking price. They really cannot. And if they decide to sell, that's certainly one thing. But yes, Brooklyn has all the leverage, and that is basic economics that the price for MPJ is going to go up if you're talking about with Golden State. So that certainly could be a positive, one of the few that would come from the Jimmy Butler injury. But yes, Golden State's going to get desperate, man. They really, really will get desperate if they're trying to build one last contending team around Steph Curry. Another good question here from Jonathan. He says, Cam Thomas seems ready to bounce any day now. From Brooklyn, are there any teams you could see him as a six-man, Clippers or Bucks, or a CT attached to a Claxton/Nick Claxton trade? We can get into Nick Claxton in a couple of minutes here, but also while I was at the game, I caught this, which, to be honest, I'm getting a lot of hate for, or rather pushback for. I'll share my screen again. This was Cam Thomas at the game. 3 seats away from everybody else on the Nets bench, crouched over and seemingly disinterested in the basketball game at hand. Like down the stretch, you had guys standing up for big shots. Danny Wolf obviously in it. The rest of the bench was super excited to see their Nets trying to claw back in it. Cam Thomas was completely out of it. Not even near any of the coaching staff, talking to nobody. I didn't see him say a word the entire night. It seems like he has to be out of here at this point. I can't imagine a situation where he stays in Brooklyn much longer. What's there to stay for? What is there to stay for him? Unfortunately, though, at this point, I think it's probably about cutting him because, let's be real, who's interested in this? Who is interested in an injury-prone guy that shot chucks and is terrible for the locker room? You tell me. I can't really think of a team off the top of my head. So I don't think he's a sixth man anywhere. Is there a team willing to take a flyer on him, take that risk? Maybe, I don't know. But he's not a sixth man anywhere. He's not the first guy off the bench anywhere. LA's been playing much better. I mean, I'd love to see Giannis try and deal with Cam Thomas. I'm not sure he'd be able to. That would certainly be one hell of a, let's call it, episode in Milwaukee if that were to happen. A couple more here from Jonathan before we wrap up. He goes, the Knicks seem to be spiraling after winning the Whoopee Cushion in-season cup. How important is tomorrow's game for Brooklyn, and how do you feel about the Knicks picks now? First of all, the picks, man, I feel great. I hate to say it, this Knicks team is an injury away from having their future ruined. And I put it out on Twitter. The Knicks have a 1-year championship window. The Nets have a decade-plus championship window that is coming right up, right around the corner. And the fact that the Knicks own the Nets draft rights and the Knicks won't be able to rebuild makes it all the more sweeter. You're talking about a Nets team that could be great later on into the future. The Knicks are in absolute mediocrity and misery, and meanwhile the Nets will be selecting for them. That would be awesome. But yeah, I mean, the Knicks look terrible. How important is tomorrow's game for Brooklyn? In terms of that question, my answer is always beat the Knicks. Always beat the freaking Knicks. I don't care if it's the number 1 seed on the line, or rather, number 1 pick on the line. Beat the freaking Knicks, all right? That will always be my mentality there. No ifs, ands, or buts. Tanking season doesn't change that. Beat the freaking New York Knicks. Love it when the Nets win the crosstown rivalry. It's been a couple of years, though. Knicks have dominated recently. Let's go. Get back in the win column. I can't think of a better time. Knicks 2-9 in their last 11. They look horrible right now. Team's falling apart. Cat's getting blamed, this, that, and the other. It's just like, dude, let's put the freaking nail in the coffin here. All right, let's send Knicks fans into absolute hectic ridiculousness before the All-Star break, before the trade deadline. Make them think that there is no chance they go anywhere in the playoffs with just this one win. I don't think Nets fans understand the power tomorrow's game has. If the Nets play well, if the Nets beat the Knicks tomorrow, it could alter the course of that franchise. And I'm not even kidding. Knicks fans would lose their mind. The Knicks are going to get booed off the court tomorrow if they play remotely poorly against the Nets. It already happened against the Mavericks, who the Nets played down to the final buzzer. They were down 20 at halftime. I don't know what else to say. They are horrible right now. Put the nail in the freaking Knicks coffin. Nothing would make me happier. Nothing ever would make me happier than that. Devil's Advocate NJ in the building. How you doing, my friend? Appreciate you tuning in. Couple more here, and then we will go. Will the Terrence Mann, Tyrese Martin, Wilson fiasco end anytime soon? Nolan should have started yesterday's game, not Man. Can we attach a second to Man and move him? Please do. I mean, Terrence Mann's only reason coming in here was for Drake Powell. I thought he had a chance to be a leader. He doesn't. Go ahead and move him. See if you have any suitors for the contract, or just don't play him. I mean, it's not that unnecessarily hard. Jordy Fernandez just does not need to play this guy. The tough thing about trading Man is he's another one of those bulkier salaries that you're going to have to replace if you trade him. Nets are still hovering right around the salary floor, so you have to replace that contract if you do end up dealing Man. Not sure what you want to do with that, but please, anybody, Terrence Mann, Tyrese Martin, Jalen Wilson, Cam Thomas, we're having a stoop sale here. We'll give you 4 for $1. Just give us some contracts back, some expiring deals. Open up some cap space next off season. Maybe get a second in there. I mean, I really don't care about the picks coming along with it. It's all about the roster space at this point. Continue to get questions, comments, thoughts in. Last couple here. Jaegers is a young leader, and that's what we want in Brooklyn. Since the pre-draft workout, Jaeger has put in the work to earn his team lottery pick status. Amen. Josh has spoken leverage with the Warriors. If the Warriors try to offload Butler's bad remaining contract and extract 2 to 3 firsts, would you do it? I'm absolutely taking on Jimmy Butler's terrible remaining contract. He becomes a free agent next offseason. And let's be real, if Michael Porter Jr. is not involved in this trade, this would honestly be a dream deadline. Add 2 more firsts when the Warriors would be bad. It'll be post-Curry. Let me get the exact details on Butler's contract. I think it's about $50 million. It was 2 years, $110 million with Golden State. So just loading up spotrack.com here for the cap hit. The cap hit is $54 million this year. So that's what you have to think about. $54 million this year, $56 next year. Gosh, that is 34% of the team cap. That's ridiculous. He'll be a free agent in 2027. That kind of fits the Nets window, to be honest. And they can take on $50 million for a guy who's not going to play a game, as ridiculous as that sounds. 2 to 3 firsts for Jimmy Butler's contract. I would. It kind of puts you in a pickle with free agency. You don't have much wiggle room to go out there, get another center if that's what you're looking for, add depth. You really don't have that much wiggle room. You're already hovering around the apron just with that one contract. But yes, if I'm Sean Marks, I'm picking up the phone for Butler. It would be tough to match contracts, though, especially if MPJ is not in the deal. So that is something we'll end on. That is something we'll have to think about as we move forward. Great stuff, Josh. Let's get it tomorrow against the Knicks, says Jonathan. Appreciate you. Appreciate all your support right here on the show. We got 68 of you guys in the building. You are all the best. All right, that'll wrap it up from Brooklyn. I'm Josh Williver for the Brooklyn Boys Show saying have a great night, everybody. Stay safe. And as always, and especially tomorrow, beat the Knicks. Let's go Nets, baby. Good night, everybody. Sleep tight. It is Brooklyn all day tomorrow. Say it with me, Brooklyn.